All right, welcome to Japan Network Live, a live stream show where we feature Japan-based entrepreneurs and working professionals. And, we just chat with them and hear about their experiences. All right. I want to give a big shout out to last week's guest, which was the first guest, Tia Haygood, for coming and talk to us about photography and why she does what she does. So big shout out to Tia. Okay. And also, I just want to remind you guys that if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, please hit subscribe to the show. And yeah, you'll be good to go. Hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay. All right. So today's guest, glad to have her on the show. Glad to have her on the show. And her name is Noriko Shindo. And she's a business mindset coach. And I'm also going to have her introduce herself, but I just wanted to give you a little short intro. All right. So welcome, Noriko. How's it going?
Thank you. Good. You?
Good. Hanging in there. Not too bad for a Monday. And yourself?
No.
How was your Monday?
Yeah, I love my because no, I love every day of the week, but Saturday, Sunday, I try not to work. So
Mm.
Monday is like my day to start working, and I currently love the work I do. So it's like, yeah, it's Monday.
Yeah. And I think as we were getting ready for the show, heard the kiddos in the background. So no worries if we hear some baby sounds.
Yeah,
So
they're
yeah.
settling down. So yeah.
Yeah. So give us a short introduction on who you are and what you're about.
Sure. So my name is Noriko Shindo. I'm Japanese, born in Japan, raised in primarily London, been in New York. And then now what I'm doing is a business coach. Previous to that, I started my career in banking in Japan. I went on to get an MBA in INSEAD, and then started working for Amazon Japan. 2020, I basically quit all forms of employment to do entrepreneurship. And some of you may know me for co-founding Ecolocal, co-founding another company called Dokoni, more branded to do an app called Hue Restaurants. And we closed that towards the end of last year. And so now I've been doing business coaching ever since then.
Cool. Well, we're going to get into those three things exactly today. We're going to get into talk a little bit about Ecolocal and Dokoni, aka Hue, as well as your recent entrepreneur venture, business mindset coaching and helping other women specifically, right? Is the audience?
My doors are open, but I don't know if we'll talk about this today or not, but I do market or message to females more, but I think it's more parents. Yeah.
Oh, great. I think when was the first time we met? I want to say it was at CIC Tokyo. I could be wrong, but I believe it was CIC Tokyo. Yeah. And you guys were doing a pitch for Ecolocal. Is that correct?
Maybe you remember that. I'm not sure I registered that as the first time I met you.
Oh,
So
really?
you saw us maybe. I
Gotcha.
more vividly remember you. Actually, I don't know why. We met in person for the first time at Code Chrysalis's anniversary party for one of their anniversaries.
Oh, you're right. Forgot
But
about that.
I think we connected online way before that.
Got you. Yeah. That's probably maybe 3-4 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so I wanted to talk to you about the things that you mentioned in your intro. And, I believe, at the heart of like all companies, right? When you're starting a company, you're trying to solve a problem, right? Now, whether that problem is big enough or whether you execute well enough to become a successful company. There's a lot of different factors, but I wanted to ask you, what was that problem that you were trying to solve with Ecolocal?
Our mission was always from the get-go to make sustainable consumption choices accessible to individuals. We kind of shortened it to make sustainability accessible. But the idea of being back in 2020 still is kind of plastic heavy in a lot of supermarkets, but the awareness level and, of course, the consumption behaviors to go with it for basically retail customers or anybody like you and me who's just not there compared to the rest of the world who are saying, oh, we should do zero waste and no plastic. And so that was the mission, or let's say the core problem that we were set out to solve.
Okay. And so also, you can kind of talk a little bit about what you were trying to solve with Hue or Dokoni. Kind of give us some background on that as well.
Sure. So the second company that I mentioned in my intro,
Mm,
company name is Dokoni, but our project name for the last half was called Hue, Hue, for like colors, specific colors.
mm,
And also the mission there was the same throughout, but we were trying to basically empower the consumers when it gets to restaurant or food and beverage restaurant choices and eating out. Because what we noticed at some point, and I don't think this is just a Japan thing, but um, tough as it is in the food and beverage industry, eating out industry, the ones that seem to make it or to stay, they're not necessarily the ones that have the best taste, originality, service, quality, this kind of thing. It's more, I mean, I guess it's the same with any business, but it's the ones that nailed it or went viral in some kind of marketing,
mm,
whether it's social media or something else. And we're like, but this is food, you know? I mean, it
mm,
could go viral and you might know about it on social media, great. But then at the end of the day, it's food. So why can we not have a world where people or these companies, local businesses are competing on how good their food is, how interesting it is, how well it's served, etc. And that was the core principle behind Hue, which was a B2C app or a consumer app, free to basically bring you something that was like a personalized tabelogu in Japan or like a personalized TripAdvisor Google review, just specific to eating out.
mm. Okay. Yeah, and I actually was a user of Hue. I actually did.
Yeah, thank you. And you gave
Yeah,
us a lot of great feedback
I
and
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
I'll be like out in Tokyo, Shimokitazawa somewhere, and it's like, okay, let me use the Hue app. Yeah. Like what I liked about it was, being able to see, because most people they'll go to Google or something and, you know, do their Googles or whatever. And, occasionally you might ask a friend for a recommendation or whatever, but with the Hue app, you could actually follow people that you are friends and family with and see their recommend or just see the restaurants that they have on their list. Was
Yeah,
that was that the idea, right?
that was a dream. Yeah, it's kind of the social media aspect was not the main point. I think the main point was that you could organically um, connect to and explore information that we were with high confidence um, you would enjoy. So the hue, HUE, is a specific color. It's a word for a specific color,
Mm,
and basically your food priorities would be allocated a specific color, just arbitrarily. And the idea is the closer the color, the closer your taste preference. So if you see another user, you don't know them in real life, but they have a color that's similar to your own color,
mm.
then the theory goes that if you follow that person and you can see where they've gone to, where they've favorited, where they've listed, there's a high likelihood you'll enjoy those other things on that list versus like whatever's highly rated on Google or Tabelog.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know, with entrepreneurship has been a big topic for a long time, and a lot of people want to start their own thing. Uh, but it's often made to look glamorous and maybe pretty and cool. But I I know you eventually moved on from both businesses, and I just wanted you to kind of touch on what what went through your mind, you and your co-founders, when you were like, okay, it's time to shut it down. Like, kind of walk me through that process of, you know, doing something you're passionate about, but then coming to that realization.
Yeah. Um, I think in both cases, it was a mutual decision.
Mm.
By the way, it was two businesses with two different people, right?
Yes, exactly.
Um,
Thanks for that clarification.
and but either way, like it was both a mutual decision. But of course, let's say the mutual decision, if that was internal, so within each of ourselves, like whether it was we had personal things going on or whether it's something else. Whatever prompted us to have that discussion, I think in both cases were more like external. For example, like cash ran out, and we didn't get the next investor, or something else like maybe we need more money to keep up. I mean, the first business we had with a cafe in Tokyo, vegan cafe, and this is more regards to shutting that cafe down. But
Mm,
we could have kept it up, but the money that potentially we need if we get another minus, which did happen, just the pros and cons of that. So things like that, it was usually like external prompts or timings or situations that then triggered us to have the conversation between the two of us, but then, like you said, it's more internal, I guess. So we talk about like, balancing our initial mission, passion, where we're at now with motivation, financial situation for both the company and for each of us involved. What else? Yeah, like how does this tie in with your life goals? Does it still tie in? Does it not? This kind of thing. So
mm,
I think it's interesting because I'm not sure that I foresaw that before going into any kind of co-foundership and trying to build any kind of company. You think everything is all about business, like here's a company, run out of money, this, but most of the discussions, and this actually is discussions also when we were running it. So it's not just when we were closing it. It's interesting to see how a lot of these discussions that we had um, usually tend to weigh heavier on the like, how's it going for, of course, there's a lot of strategy and how to as well. But um, what for me was in hindsight kind of surprising was that the ratio of conversations you have that stems from the internal
mhm,
is not little. It's not like zero. It's not like 2%. So yeah, it's of course now that I know this, it's like,
mhm,
yeah, you should probably go for something that you are really aligned with. It's difficult to know, but and easy to say. But yeah,
mm. Yeah, certainly. I haven't been down that path yet, so I'm always just curious about that process. Because I've supported a lot of folks, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy to keep it going, but I love the support. So, is
yeah,
the
thank you.
so with the Hue app, I know that you guys like were trying to expand to the U.S. That was the goal, right?
Yes and no. I think
Okay.
like the way we went about it is so I don't know how much detail I should go into, but just on a very high level,
Mm,
of course, the US has the biggest stock market and the biggest like investment
mm,
scene, both whether it's stock market or both whether it's private investment, such as angel investors investing into startups or venture capitals. So what that meant is that even if it's like an angel round or a VC round or a seed funding, these are like stages of funding in a startup. Even if you compare across the same stage that a startup would go through, the ticket size, the typical ticket size that you can get from investors in total or per investor is a lot bigger in the US. It tends to be, right? And so the thinking was that hey, it'd be better to get this like traction in English in the US and get these eyeballs of investors, and that was our initial thinking. And then when we launched it organically, again, I don't know how much everyone is aware of the app stores in iTunes or whatever, but we didn't launch it in a specific geography, like, hey, just Japan. We just said, okay, across the globe.
mm,
And that was actually, in a way, an experiment for us to see. which country it might pick up in. Of course, we try to go for US, and we did a bit of marketing there. But,
Okay.
with regards to other countries, we were like, it'd be a lucky find if somewhere just blew up and we didn't even think about it. So that was kind of the thinking around, global, having the app in Japan, having the app in US.
One thing I've always as I was following you guys, one thing I've always appreciated about you was like transparency and the realities of entrepreneurship. Um, and you had like a series of posts on LinkedIn, and I thought it was really cool that you were saying things that most entrepreneurs don't say in public. Why
Yeah.
did you feel like the the need or the want? Why did you have that want to do that?
What spurred that actually was a challenge between my co-founder and I. So in Hugh, right, John Baptiste.
Mm,
One day we said we need to build a personal brand online, and neither of us had a significant following on
okay.
Instagram, and not Instagram, LinkedIn when we started. I actually don't remember the follow account for either of us. And then I said, okay, but we neither of us know any like strategy. Neither of us are gurus. What do we do? Okay,
Mhm.
consistency and what else? Okay, LinkedIn has all these like BS posts, um,
BS posts?
i.e., if you bullshit. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
basically, if you're an entrepreneur, then
Uh-huh.
the only posts we see from you are like, oh, these are the 10 steps to get to,
Oh,
1 billion,
yeah.
what was it, company, revenue company, or things like this. And you never see somebody talking real time. This is what I'm doing now. I have no freaking clue what I'm doing, but I hope this works out. Or this is what I did without a freaking clue if it's going to work out. And boom, it actually failed. But here are the things I think why it failed. Or, like real time, there's nothing going on.
Mm,
And we're like, this was John Baptiste and I. We were like, LinkedIn is just full of people just bragging about how they know exactly what they did for that one success that they're known for, but
mm,
they never talk about all their failures. One. Two, it's never in real time. So of course they can pick and choose what they want to talk about, which is fine.
mm.
But we were like, it just lacks real time authenticity. Okay, let's go. One post a day for 100 days. Um,
I definitely remember that.
let's just talk about our current entrepreneurial journey as is, like to the extent that we're willing to disclose, right? Because some things
Mm,
about the company we didn't want
yes.
to disclose real time. But other than that, we're like, let's just try this. And to be fair, I think I kind of it just stuck with me longer than it stuck with him. So some days he missed, and then some days he came back. But then ultimately, I think I did almost all the 100 days consecutively.
Mm,
And then the days I missed them, I even owned up and said I missed it yesterday. So to that level of transparency, it was an experiment. But actually, that ended up being quite um, good because now people in my, let's say, LinkedIn circle
mhm.
seem to, including yourself, seem to know me for that. Like, oh, you were doing those posts every day, and they were really real and authentic. So I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And second thing is, and this was a great bonus for me, is when I started the coaching, I wasn't posting about anything, and then just out of the blue, I posted something. I said, I'm looking for somebody with these kinds of profiles to take my coaching for free, just to see what happens.
Mm,
And then like five people jumped on. And I think two of them quoted my posts from Hugh saying, I've been following you since you were sharing all that stuff about startup and like real time authenticity. And I was like, oh, this is good. Like it's paying off. So
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so what were some of those things, if you just whatever comes to mind, that you learned in real time that you didn't have a clue what you were doing, and maybe you've kind of figured it out, or maybe you didn't? Can you like mention any of those things?
Yeah. You mean like about running Hugh?
Yeah, yeah, running Hugh. Sorry. Whether it be like, I don't know, social media or sales or whatever it is.
Yeah. So one thing that was refreshing is nice. It was actually a nice confirmation to know that LinkedIn was missing real time authenticity because after a while I started getting it was less comments, it was more DMs.
Mm,
Again, telling of what kind of platform this is, right? People don't want to say in a comment, "Oh, I love this raw post," because who sees it, right? Anyway, I got a lot of messages in many forms saying, I love the stuff, keep it up. Or even if I met somebody in real life,
Hmm.
oh, this is cool. And if I ask what's cool about it, most people will say it's what most people don't talk about. And if
Yeah.
I can think of like a specific topic, I think it was just the rawness of, having small kids, trying to create a consumer app, which is notoriously tough. And then within that, the consumer app was basically a platform business, right? So you have the free users and you have the restaurant listing. So that's notoriously tougher than just a consumer. I mean, it was the toughest thing you want to go for, I guess, in this age.
Mm.
Um, and so, just talking of the challenges of, yeah, but we don't have all this cash injected to spend on marketing, this, that, the other. We've talked to this many investors, and a lot of people don't believe in such a, let's say, I won't say grand vision, but it's at an age where post COVID, a lot of VCs were tired of getting burnt by investing heavily into startups just by pitch deck. We were trying to get VC attention at a time when they were tired of that, and they were like, we've kind of changed strategy, and we're looking for startups that already have traction. Let's say about 1 million yen revenue recurring every month. And I don't know if anybody has an idea what that is, but that's not huge. Of course, it's not huge for a company,
Hmm.
but actually, it's not small either.
Yes,
It's
definitely not.
depending on the nature of your business too. But for us, it was like, well, we're a volume business. For us to get to 1 million, it will take a while. And then once we do get 1 million, it's going to be, but
Yeah.
who are we going to charge? We're a free app. So
Yeah.
those were the kind of challenges that I talked about, kind of the frustration between, okay, like we have this vision. A lot of people don't believe in us. Some people do. Juggling parenting and startup, uncertainty. So these are the topics I think that I talked about the most, and people seem to like. Mm.
Mm. Now, I feel like with Hugh and with Echo Loco, there was like a through line, or there was like a theme, that it was something you were passionate about. What is it? Was it, yeah, describe that passion that you had.
I hope this doesn't put anyone off if I
Mm,
tell you that I only realized what the common denominator was
mm,
of those two after I'd gotten out of it. So,
gotcha.
just for context, also before Ecolocal, I had a project to raise awareness on veganism. I tried to do it with like a combination of a website slash blog and an Instagram account that has the same name.
Mhm,
I call that my first entrepreneurial stint slash first failure. But point being, I look back at some point. I think it was, I forgot when, actually, sometime last year. I look back at some point and said I was a bit confused. Why am I doing all these things? Like seemingly not the same. It's kind of social problems. It's kind of not.
mhm,
And then it just hit me that I am frustrated at the information gap between Japan and the rest of the world, especially when Japan is a bit behind. So veganism I was frustrated in 2018 when people thought literally that being vegan was being part of a cult. And I got that comment. And I was like, no, this is just ridiculous. Like the rest of the world, even if like population of veganism is tiny, at least everyone knows what it is.
mm,
Um, and then fast forward to 2020, it was a similar frustration I had with the whole topic of sustainability, eco-friendly. There's in Japan you get like air conditioners and cars that have like an eco sticker on it, or even like a one single banana that has an eco stamp, but it's in like double layer plastic, which is something you never see anywhere else, right? So
mm,
that was a frustration. And then with Dokoni, it wasn't easy to see at first, but I think this whole thing of globalization and like global trend of viral content. I guess it's not that easy to see with Dokoni, but I think for me it was like less focus on globalization, more focus on localization or local things,
okay.
local stores, local restaurants. Um, because it was like I was always frustrated with this gap that either Japan is behind or Japan is being eaten up. And yeah, I only identified that like basically last summer as I was exiting Dokoni, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting. And this was not what I was imagining that you were going to say, but I'm glad you said that. I was thinking, well, I mean, you kind of tied it in with veganism, right? So I was thinking like food, like it was something about your lifestyle that reflected in like both of these businesses.
Yeah, I thought
Am I
so
right when
too.
yeah, am I right to
I
say
actually
that?
thought so too.
Okay,
Yeah, 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 and that's actually what I used to think about myself
okay, gotcha.
until basically this woman I met online or on social media, she gave me sort of a free like session to really like just do brainstorming, brain dumping, and she was really good. Japanese only, by the way, but
Mhm,
um, and basically she had this. I guess she has this gift of just like showing you. I think this is your gift, or I think this is your thing. And in one session, she was like, "You seem to be really good at importing stuff." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, think about it. And then that was kind of the aha moment for me where everything tied together. And it's like, no, it's not the fact that I'm most passionate about food. I'm not most passionate about, social oppression or animal oppression.
mhm,
I am, yeah, but it's not the thing at the top of the list. I think the bigger frustration for me was the fact that Japan was behind on all this awareness. That makes sense?
gotcha. Okay, yeah, I got you. Now, you talk. I follow you on social, and you post a lot of content, and you're on it. You're pumping out that content way more than I am. I'm just like every time I see, I'm like, wow, she's just killing it, man. She got the babies and you know, doing your thing with business and juggling it all. But yeah. So you talked about passion and how that's passion alone doesn't make you successful in business. Can you elaborate on that? Any thoughts you have on that?
Yeah, I mean, partly, of course, it comes from my own experience, which is, I thought I picked topics and areas that I was most
Mm,
passionate about solving these problems. Then the second kind of passion comes from when we started doing actual businesses and, charging people for services or products. Um, how do I say, like I think I have to admit, we never had like a hardcore financial goal. Towards the end of Dokoni, we did because it was getting clear that we really need to focus on, yearly goal and drill that down per month and stuff like that. But I
mhm,
think for the longer part of my entrepreneurial from 2020 to 2020, mid 2024, it was, I think Japanese people say this a lot, but when you're really passionate and you're really giving it your all, then money will come later.
mm.
The money will follow. And I'm like, and I actually really believed in it. And I thought, yeah, because I'm so smart to a certain degree, right? And I've had my fair share of experience in business in these large multinational companies,
Mm,
et cetera, et cetera. So I'm like, I can't be that far off of making money. I just need to just give it my all, be original, be authentic, be transparent, at least have a bit of a goal, but not really fixate on that and just go all in, and then the money will follow. And I'm like, how wrong was I, right? So that is something that I think, you know, when we say passion and entrepreneurship, I think there's two parts. One is the what topic or what service or what area do you pick to put yourself in?
Mhm,
And that for me, like I just said, I think I, could have gone deeper. I don't know. I mean, I don't regret anything, but basically I realized that I thought what I thought was just one level above what my actual deepest passion is, which is the gap between Japan and the world in terms of information, right? And the second aspect of passion is, like how you put yourself into that. Of
mhm,
course, you can do that better if number one is tick boxes ticked because you're passionate about the topic. But if you're just passionate about serving your customers and doing this, reiterating, and then the money will follow.
Mm.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, definitely, it's a good point. I saw it on social media, so I was like, "Yeah, definitely a great point." You can lead with passion, you can start it off with passion, but, need a lot more, a lot of different factors.
Mhm.
Do we have anybody in the audience today? Let's, uh, let's see. Um, comments? Any comments in here? No, no comments? Okay. But just keep talking, alright? Um, so, tell us, at what point did you realize this coaching thing was something you really wanted to do?
Yeah. So just for context, in 2019, before I became an entrepreneur, and this
Mm,
was no way to prepare for being an entrepreneur, it just so happened, but I had taken some self-development programs slash group coaching
mm,
that involved um, not a module, but some of it involved coaching others as well.
mhm,
I didn't think anything of that. I mean, it what I learned through there, what I picked up through there, my transformation there, like basically changed my life. But it never occurred to me that that was a tool I could use to serve others. And then that was 2019-20, and then I quit Amazon 2021, I think.
mhm,
Um, and then throughout my let's say post Amazon entrepreneur journey, I got a lot of questions, especially from women who, especially were mothers or pregnant or to be mothers. Um, how do you do it all? Like, you know, through those from 2020, I had one kid, then two kids, now I have three kids. Trying to grow a business. I show up in many events. I show up in interviews, guest podcasts. Basically, I'm clearly quite active.
mm,
Um, and I'm like, how do you do it? And you don't seem at all flustered or overwhelmed. And if you're not sharing that, then that's another thing. And I said, no, actually, there's nothing to share because I'm never stressed. And they were like, what are you doing? And I used to sometimes take calls for free and just give kind of like, not advice, but, talk through their problems and see where they're at, and then try to provide tips. Oh, here's what I might do in your situation, kind of thing.
mhm,
And fast forward to, I think, beginning of last year, so beginning of 2024. At some point, I realized, wait a minute, like what's obvious to me, basically, what I'm doing to not barely get much stress, barely get overwhelmed. I do get overwhelmed, by the way, but like it doesn't happen a lot. This is obvious to me, but it's not obvious to everyone else. And giving advice, we won't go into this detail, but one thing I also learned from becoming a mother and an entrepreneur at the same time is a lot of unsolicited advice that you get, right? In either case. And then think of me, I'm like an overlap. So I get so much unsolicited advice. And you stop listening. And then what I realize is even if I am going out to get advice, like I go to an event and I ask a question or I talk to somebody after the event, and I get that and I even write it down. I might save the book that they quoted. I might even read that book. But at the end of the day, I'm either not listening, I don't implement exactly what they say.
mhm,
What I do go out and do is what I think I should go out and do. And so it dawned on me that me giving these advices to women over the years, I didn't know how much of that was actually being useful or impactful because I also observed the same in other people that when they get advice, whether they're seeking it or not, they listen, they might get inspired at best, but they're not actually acting on it. And that's why coaching, because at least my style of coaching is that I believe everybody has the best path. They know what the best path is for themselves. It's right inside, whether you call it intuition,
mhm,
higher self, whatever the word, doesn't really matter. But I do believe there's a way to hear that. And my coaching is basically to guide you to be able to hear that so that you're not listening to me, you're listening to yourself. And therefore, it's I can see it in all my coaches. The time to action is just faster, 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 faster because they're like, they see it, they see it, they see it, they see it, and they stop also ruminating and spending time on things that don't matter in terms
Mm.
of like thinking.
Yeah. So with, I know you said primarily you focus on women, right? Or mothers, moms trying to be entrepreneurs or already going through entrepreneurship. Is that the focus, right?
I
Or-
thought so, but lately I realized it might be parents.
Okay.
So I realized this when I got an inquiry from a male perspective who now has become one of my clients too. And I didn't know why he was coming to me until I
Sorry.
realized
Didn't know why he was coming to me.
no, it's just not my, it was never my, it was not my typical,
Gotcha.
you know, person, like,
Mm,
especially the fact they're a different gender than my usual clientele. But, and then after talking to this guy, in our discovery call, I realized, okay, he has the exact like set of problems that all my other clients have. I.e., he is sort of like the main caregiver.
mm.
Main There's no such thing as main parent, but sometimes, tactically, operationally, it does happen that one
Primary.
does more
Yeah.
on a day to day, yeah, right.
Mm,
And it just so happens that he was actually the had the heavier load, but he has his own business as well,
mm.
and his kids are quite small. So I'm like, oh, this is the set of problems that I excel to support. Yeah.
Gotcha. So walk me through how, what is your initial approach when someone first comes to you? Is there like you have like a steps that you kind of follow to get going? You just walk me through that process.
I have no steps.
Oh, you have no step.
Yeah. The other day, one of my clients asked if I prep for these sessions, and I said no. So basically, from session number one, I
Mhm.
would say, "Hi, what do you want to talk about today?" Of course, I do explain this, yeah, because,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, basically, I feel like the whole time the sessions should be for you. It's your time, so you bring whatever topic you want, and then we'll start there.
Mm,
And there's actually a couple of reasons why I do this. One is because I want to help you get kind of untangle the things that are top of mind.
mm.
And I have this belief that the first thing you say after you get a question is the top of mind. Everything that comes after is varying degrees, right? And second thing, how do I say it? Like the way that each of us sees the world
Mhm.
is unique, but they all kind of boil down to like themes, two or three themes. It's kind of crazy how this is, but it really boils down to like only two or three themes. And so wherever you start, like whether it's you just snapped at your partner before you came into the call, or you had an argument with your daughter
Mm,
last night, or I don't know, you had something going on with one of your vendors. Doesn't matter to me because as we go deeper, as we uncover it, it will always get to one of your two or three themes of how you see the world.
mm,
And that's the other reason why I don't need to prep because that's where it goes, right?
mm.
So, yeah,
Interesting approach. Whew, hot in here.
getting hot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, yeah, I definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. Um, I think this is the first time we've done like a official recording. I know we've kind
That's
of
true.
chatted offline, but kind of online type of thing. Is there any questions that I should have asked that might have been a give some people out there some insight on just like entrepreneurship and journey in general, excuse me, that you've learned along the
Yeah,
way?
I think because I feel like in the trailer you said that I failed again and again and again, and I'm not sure it was clear that we touched on that today. So I did want
Yeah.
to share a little bit of that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I actually did emphasize that, and yeah, maybe I just didn't. Maybe I didn't emphasize it enough in the recording, but yeah, we did talk about Dogoni and Echo Loco and how you had to shut things down. But yeah, please elaborate more on
Mm.
failure, failing, the importance of failure. You see
That
people
was a very
in the LinkedIn.
elegant way.
Yeah, you see people on LinkedIn like, oh, two x, two times failure, 9x, 10x. Talk to us about it.
Yeah.
The importance of failing.
Yeah. So to prepare for this call, I remember counting how many times I've like quote unquote failed.
Mm,
And one thing that came up for me is what is your definition of failure, right?
mm,
I mean, I think I told you the other day I failed 7 times, and depending on how you count it, it could be three, it could be 10. I was thinking about
mm,
that this morning.
mm.
But then I thought, what is your failure? What is the definition of failure?
Yeah,
And
what is?
what is the definition of success?
Mm. That was
Like,
a question. Okay, got you. Okay, I thought that was a question for me. I was like, but yeah.
it's also a question for you, but anybody, who's watching real time or recording, because we are actually really bashed around by these concepts.
Yeah.
Like some of us, or most of us who have actually never done entrepreneurship but want to, I think the biggest fear is fear of failure, right?
Mm,
Aside from all the other excuses of I'm not going to get stable income and that, but I think the biggest one has got to be fear of failure. That's probably the true and one and true fear.
mm.
But has anybody actually bothered to unpack that? What does it mean for you?
I don't think I've not deeply. No, I've never thought about it. But of
It doesn't have to
course.
be deep. It could even be like, hey, could you say it in a sentence? And you have to stop and think, right?
Mm. What is failure?
So, I was thinking about this because I thought, okay, like, anyway, you could say I failed a couple of million, 3 to 10 times, however you want to define it. Even how I define it, it could be 3 to 10 times. But then again, what is failure? But also, what is success? Because if you don't want to fail and your greatest fear is failing, so what do you want? You want to succeed. What is success?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Everyone doesn't want the one thing. So, okay, so what do you want? Success. What is success? And I think, if you are interested, actually, it doesn't matter if you're interested in entrepreneurship or not. I think it just, even if you are employed and you
Mm,
want to continue staying employed and you're happy that way, that's totally fine too.
mm.
What does it mean for you to be successful as an employee, to go up the ladder? What is success? Because we're so bashed around by it,
Mhm.
and we're like limiting ourselves and building all these real fears. It's not even real.
Mm. Yeah. I've thought many times to start this live show, and I was scared of failure. But yeah, like you said, what is failure?
What is failure? Yeah.
Just keep going. I'm probably failing right
Yeah.
now. I failed. I
And then
failed.
the other thing I would, yeah, go ahead.
No, I said I failed last week. I'll tell you what happened. Mm, Just be real, right? Transparent, right? So I'm getting ready for the show, and this doing a live show is all these things, right? And all these things that I've learned from other more seasoned live streamers, and so I'm going through like everything, tech check, this, that, lights, everything, mic. Does the guest sound right? Are they fitting the camera frame correctly? Whatever. Going through all this stuff, right? And I forgot. I thought I had a technical issue with going live because it wouldn't push to YouTube. I forgot to hit the live button. Forgot to push the go live. That's all it was. And I'm like, because I've done live streams before, for work and other things, but never, like, not for the first time, not for this show. This is the first time last week, and I was just like, "What is going on?" But, I had so many things racing through my mind, just forgot to hit the go live button. All I had to do.
Yep.
'Cause I'm scared of failure.
Sometimes so yep, and, you know that what you're scared of ends
Mm,
up becoming true if you play it in your head too many times.
yeah.
I mean, you just did that last week, right? But we all do it all the time. Like,
Mm,
one client was scared of having a proposal that the other company would not like, and then she was consulting me about that fear, and I told her, "Well, think of it this way, if you're scared of them not liking your proposal, what kind of proposal are you gonna do?" And she said, "It's gonna be a timid proposal with less
mm.
risk, and it'll be a safe proposal." I said,
Yeah,
"Okay." So
you're
this
gonna
other
project
side
it.
that is expecting you, right,
Yeah.
expecting you to come up with an innovative proposal is gonna see this very risk-averse, boring, mediocre proposal. What will they do? She
Mm,
said, "They won't be impressed and they might even reject it." Okay, so what have you just done to yourself? Huh.
mm. I love that. Like that.
Yep.
Maybe that came off on my first episode. Maybe when I first got started, people, like, saw I was nervous and my eyes, and well, I have few screens, so my eyes kinda do go back and forth. Yeah, and sometimes if comments are coming in. In other words, I need a moderator, right? So if you're watching this show and you want to, participate and help out, you can be a moderator on this show and kind of field, comments and stuff when I get them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 'cause somebody was in there, was like, "Oh, what happened to the?" Because I thought I had an issue, but I didn't, and it didn't publish to YouTube, and some people were, like, commenting, like, "What's going on? Where's the link? The link changed." I was like, "I don't know." And I'm trying to
Yeah,
focus
yeah.
on the guest, but I'm like, "I don't know." Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I love everything you said, and there's a lot for me to think about. I'm gonna go back and listen to this. You had quite a few gems.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, anything else you wanna say? You wanna shout out your social handles? I mean, I have your Instagram below, but is there any, and you can, people can check the description. I'll drop all the links that you want me to point them to there, but
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah, any last
For
words?
sure, for sure. Any last words?
Yeah.
I don't know. I hadn't really thought this through, but
Mm,
just like the failure and success,
mhm.
I would invite you to think of any words that are bringing about real sense of fear or anxiety, because once you define them or you go through the exercise of defining them, you might be surprised.
Cool. Well, like I
Mm.
said, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
This will not be the last time you come on, right? I told Tia that I'm not.
Right.
Yeah, I told Tia that all guests are welcome back on the show. I'm sure there'll be other topics that'll come up, and I want to try some different things and, like, have, like, guest panels and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Well, we talked about, one topic, right? What was it?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. Female
mompreneurs?
entrepreneurship
Yeah,
session.
yeah,
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 mompreneurs.
yeah.
Happy to be. I tick a lot of boxes.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Noriko.
Thank you.
If you
Mm.
did tune in and you jumped out because you had to do something, no worries. Thank you for attending the live show. If you're watching the replay, thank you for watching. And that's it for Japan Network Live. See you next week.